We have a stomp box out of the 70s up on the bench. Complaint is it just doesn't work. So, I mean, you can tell by the cord on the thing that this thing's been around. This thing's been around a while. It is a Mu-Tron Phasor II. And we're going to open the thing up and check it out and see why it won't work. Now, the reason that, on something this old, most of the time you don't want to waste any time on it, but I looked these up, and on Reverb, they've got one selling for over $500 and a couple more for close to $400. So it's got some value, and the guy that owns it, I repaired an amplifier for him too. It was the Laney amp. I don't know if you happened to see that video, but so he brought this in, and it's worth fixing. So I'm gonna tear into it and see what's wrong with it. You have to take a lot of stuff off this thing to get it apart. Most of the newer stuff made in the 2000s, you just pull a few screws out and the cover comes off and you get right at it. But you got to just about take everything off of here to get to the components. I just read that this is the phaser that Peter Frampton uses, in his more modern tours. I don't know what he used back on his Frampton Comes Alive album. From what I gather, he was playing through Leslie's a lot, and obviously he used the talk box. But the phaser sound he got back then might have been Leslie's that he used, but I'm not sure about that. In any case, that was kind of in the 70s when all of these different types of pedals really started to take off. I was a little ahead of that. I was playing live back in the late 60s, early 70s, and I never had any kind of a pedal. None of the guys at that time that played guitar used a pedal. Not until mid 70s, late 70s, right in there. That's about when this thing came out. So the first thing I'm going to do is start checking out the function of the main things that would go wrong with a pedal like this. The stomp button that would be one of the first things you'd want to check out. And then there's the on and off switch and that kind of stuff. I wanted to verify that was all functional. So what I actually found was the stomp switch was fine. It worked. The on-off switch was working. What I didn't like is the output jack that goes to the amp did not have a ground connection. And the other one did have one, but it was tagged off to this piece of aluminum that I don't know what that piece of aluminum actually functioned as. It wasn't connected anywhere else and wasn't connected to this other jack. So they relied on the chassis itself to provide the ground for the other jack, and I really don't like that. I'm gonna add a ground wire to it. And those two screws were loose, but I don't know what the purpose. There's no other connections there. I don't know what it's for. So the other thing I found was that LED wires were broken off, and it was kind of dangling there. And I discovered that it had come loose on the board where the solder joint was, and it was actually shorting out. If I get it up here close, and you can see that one solder joint moves around real easily, and it was laying up against the other side. So that may have been the whole problem. Right there, why it just didn't work at all. It was shorting out to 24 volts or 12 volts. I don't even know what the secondary is on this thing. It's got a power supply in it, but I didn't check the voltage on it. most stomp boxes are 9 volts, but I have no idea what this is. So anyway, yeah, this thing is just broken loose, and I will have to replace that LED. And I've got every color LED except red. So I got to get some more. So another thing I want to do is attach a ground wire to the output jack. They're relying on the chassis to feed the ground to that jack, and I don't know, I just don't like that idea. That nut gets a little bit loose right when you're in the middle of a song or something like that, and you're going to hear a bunch of crackling, and your amp is going to start crapping out. So no, I'd rather put a separate ground wire on there to keep that shit from happening. I'm not sure what that aluminum plate is for on there either. It's not connected anywhere, and it's getting the ground from the jack. It's not the other way around. So I got to get that LED soldered in and kind of shoved around because it fits up through a hole in the faceplate. By the way, this is it's an 18-volt system. Most of the modern pedals are all 9-volt. So I got it put back together and got it all hooked up and tested out. I was going to make a little video and play a little, but I decided not to. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.